Cameras on smartphones under Rs 20,000 are average at best. Whenever someone comes to me for a recommendation of a smartphone with a good camera in this price range, I almost always recommend the Moto G4 Plus or the Honor 6X for its dual cameras. With the launch of the Moto G5 Plus, you have one more option, but that's that. There's not really much out there. However, Nubia has launched the Z11 miniS recently, and this smartphone comes with a 22.6 megapixel camera, the Sony IMX318 sensor. The same sensor that is used on the Xiaomi Mi Note 2 and the Asus Zenfone 3 Deluxe, both much more expensive smartphones. Let's find out if the Nubia Z11 miniS is more than just the sum of its cameras. Hi, I'm Ershad. Let's get down to the review. Let's talk about the camera on the Nubia Z11 miniS before we talk about the other features of the phone. I'm happy to report that the Nubia Z11 miniS actually captures incredibly detailed shots and is a fairly fast shooter as well, although not as fast as the Moto G5 Plus. In my daylight samples, I noticed that the algorithm cranks up the saturation to make the final photograph look punchy and attractive. The only issue is that in the long shots, I noticed an evident barrel distortion and softness in the corners. Although that is an issue with most smartphone cameras, so nothing to fret over. The camera struggled to focus subjects at a close range, but there is a dedicated macro mode that takes care of the problem. There's a dedicated camera family mode, which has other sub-modes like panorama, star trail, clone, and many more. Basically, Nubia offers you a ton of options to get creative with the camera. I had a lot of fun shooting using the clone mode, which actually clones people properly, provided you have the frame stable. In low light, the Nubia struggles to deliver good results, much like most of the smartphone cameras in this price range. My test shots had soft details, but it does let in a decent amount of light. Similarly, thanks to the lack of dedicated OIS, my 4K video recording turned out to be very shaky. There's also a slow motion video recording option, but it returned below average results. For the selfie fans out there, the phone offers a 13 megapixel shooter that can capture some incredibly detailed selfies in daylight and some decent ones in low light as well. If you're looking for a feature like the Beautify mode in other phones, the Z11 miniS also offers you a Pretty mode, which essentially smoothens your skin and gives it a glow. Lately, I've been noticing that a lot of smartphones made by Chinese brands are inspired by the Apple iPhone 7's design. Case in point, the Vivo V5 Plus and the Oppo R9s. Joining the fray is the Nubia Z11 miniS. From the speaker and USB Type-C port setup at the bottom to the antenna lines on the rear, the Z11 miniS takes more than just an inspiration from Apple's flagship. However, the Nubia's signature red circular LED home button and the red camera ring adds some level of differentiation to the phone. Also, the capacitive touch buttons below the display are neatly backlit, in red of course, and it looks rather attractive when it glows. The phone is carved out of a single piece of Series 6000 aluminium. The edges are curved and the sides is chamfered, making it look very premium. The rear also curves nicely and the phone fits in the palm like a glove. The fingerprint scanner rests on the rear and it is easily accessible when you're holding the phone. However, if you keep it on a desk, of course, you'll have to pick it up from the desk. Having said that, it does unlock the phone really fast. The phone accepts 2 nano SIM cards, but you will have to sacrifice one SIM slot for adding a micro SD card. While I'm not a fan of hybrid slots, I understand it's a matter of personal preference really. Coming to the display, the 5.2-inch Full HD display is crisp, offers a balanced color profile, and the software allows you to tweak the color tones to your preference as well. Additionally, Nubia has also used in-cell screen technology for the display. What this essentially means is that the icons feel like they're floating on the display. Impressive stuff really. Furthermore, the viewing angles are great. The display can also get adequately bright to negate the harsh rays of the sun. The Z11 miniS runs Android Marshmallow 6.0 with Nubia UI 4.0 skin on top of it. On the face of it, the software looks nondescript with all the apps laid out on the home screen with no app drawer as well, but if you dig deeper, you'll find that there are a ton of features in this skin. Having said that, if I have to be very straight with you guys, the software is a hot mess and most of the features are better left untouched. Forget the slow of third-party apps or the bad language in the menu text. Just the slow animations of the Nubia UI 4.0 will make you tear your hair out in frustration. The edge gestures are uber cool, but quite honestly utterly impractical. Essentially, what you can do is you can use swipe gestures to go back to the previous app, or increase or decrease the brightness, or just pick up one of the other gestures as per your wish. After the initial excitement of using these gestures, I just turned it off. That's not all though, there are more features. And I don't even know if I'm barely scratching the surface. For example, you can long press the fingerprint scanner to take a screenshot, which is actually quite handy. You can even run dual instances of few apps like Facebook and WhatsApp. In my testing, I noticed that Telegram and Twitter weren't supported, and Facebook and WhatsApp were only one of the few apps that were being supported. There's also a mini launcher mode in which you can split the screen to view 2 apps at once. But many apps just don't scale, which, honestly defeats the purpose. I really wish Nubia's engineers had spent some more time at the drawing board to polish the software. There are so many good ideas, but it just doesn't translate well in the final product. Before I talk about what's inside the Z11 miniS, I have a warning for you guys. Do not, and I repeat, do not use the edge gestures on the Z11 miniS if you want smooth performance. Despite the use of the ever-reliable Snapdragon 625 system on chip, and 4 GB of RAM actually, the phone stuttered in daily usage, primarily because I had kept the edge gestures on. Even opening apps and just swiping between home screens was a little too much to take. Also, for some odd reason, Mortal Kombat 5 ran on lower graphics setting on the Adreno 506 GPU. Something I have not noticed on other phones with the same GPU and the same system on chip. Furthermore, as was the case with the previous Snapdragon 625 phones, the load times for the games are really high. The advantage of using Snapdragon 625, however, is the fact that you get good battery life. Even on a fairly small 3000 mAh battery, by today's standards, the Z11 miniS can easily last you a day on heavy usage, and mind you, I'm a heavy user. But there's no fast charging, and the battery takes at least 2.5 hours to charge from 0 to 100. For your multimedia needs, there's only a single firing speaker at the bottom, despite the design that incorporates 2 speaker grills. The speaker gets adequately loud, and I have no complaints really. The earpiece is pretty good too. The phone can handle phone calls with ease, and I never faced a call drop either. Is the Nubia Z11 miniS more than just a good camera smartphone? The short answer to that is no, primarily because the software is a mess and the hardware doesn't live up to its potential either. Having said that, the 23 megapixel camera on the rear is actually a very good shooter. But the Moto G5 Plus can also shoot great images, and overall, it's a better smartphone too. All in all, buy the Nubia Z11 miniS only if you want a great camera, a decent display, and most importantly, if you can live without the edge gestures. So that's what I think about the Nubia Z11 miniS. Do let us know in the comment section below what you think about the phone. And don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our channel.